was a good Homer Simpson moment. That's what he would do, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Our computer
so for
is
those of you on the
cold.
YouTube and Facebook who your intro for this show was, that's a good Homer Simpson moment. We had there's a bit of a pre-show that I do for Twitter because that goes live first, and then the stream sort of kicks in for you guys. Hermann, who you can't see yet because I've not put him on screen, just sort of impromptu decided to talk during the intro. So anyway, let's rewind. Let's go pro and actually do it properly. Hello and welcome to the Rugby Championship preview brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby predictions and opinion. Yay! And joining me, as you'll already know, is Hermann. How are you doing, sir?
All right, Paul. And you look like you're up for it. Sounds like you're up for it today. I'm good.
Sounds like I'm up for
looking forward to. Yeah, I'm looking forward to preview the Rugby Championship.
There are those times where you either laugh or cry. But that's where we're at. We're in one of those times where you either go hyper or just curl up in a corner and just cry. So yes, we're in one of those.
It's going to be a very emotional show today.
Yes. Warning. This one could go anywhere. With this one. So what we're going to do is we'll run through the four teams. We'll talk a bit about Sanzar, and then we will just mouth off about stuff that we fancy mouthing off about, basically. No, it's there is no strict running order tonight. Sometimes you'll hear Ashwin talking about, talking about sort of the notes and stuff. Yep, none of those tonight. This one's totally off the cuff.
That's because Ashwin doesn't join us today. We're grown-ups today. We don't need the notes. It's when we do it. Hello, Ash, if you're watching.
We'll see. Ashwin might jump in at some point if he gets back from his rugby committee meeting. On time, but we'll see how that happens. So let's talk about the teams first. Which one do you want to start with?
Well, it's a New Zealand YouTube channel. It's a rugby championship. We are the reigning champs. We're the best team in the world. So let's start with All Blacks, of course.
So the All Blacks coming off the back of a 3-0 victory against France in the June Internationals. Clearly. In a state of disarray, and because they don't really know who to pick for number 10. Apparently, if you read all the papers and all the articles online, Richard Mo'unga is going to just jump straight into number 10. He's going to push out the way the World Player of the Year for 2 years on the trot, Beauden Barrett, Damien McKenzie, who has been selected ahead of him in the squad.
He's history now. Damien McKenzie's history. I mean, he can start looking. He can start looking for options in Europe already now, I think,
Really? All these writers going how Richard Mo'unga's had a good season for the Crusaders, and don't get me wrong, he has, saying that suddenly he'll go from being not even selected in the squad until there's an injury to being the starting 10 for the All Blacks. What an absolute bunch of rubbish. You can tell there's been no rugby this weekend, and all the writers are like, help, I need to find something to write about that people will click on. Farce.
Well, to make this conversation interesting, I mean, I'm buying everything you say, but if I was Steve Hansen right now, which I ain't, we all know that, but if I was, I would pick Richie Mo'unga still. I would, because how much you're looking at stats and how much you're looking at World Player of the Year, all these things matters, they do, but just trusting, like, the pure love of rugby, just watching the boy play. I mean, I don't know how to put the words. I know I've upset some people now by saying this, but there are just something. It's like, I like to sorry for this, Paul, but I'm going to use a soccer comparison. I like to compare Beauden Barrett with Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, it's big, strong man, all athleticism, all running, like to lie down and do a little bit flopping for the referees and so on, like, go around with his little, like, Paris Hilton dog. You have seen this too, like all it. And it's, but if it really comes down to just being creative, to flow and everything, and if you put a lot of pressure on it, it's not much good for you. And I compare Richie Mo'unga with Lionel Messi, the little artist. It just seems to flow and breathe the game, spreading it around, seeing the gaps no one else is seeing. All right, attack me now, Paul. I gave you something to bite on.
I mean, come on. A guy who's played my pack that's always been going forwards all season, behind with
That's
the back
not
line,
true.
with the back
That's
line
not
that
true.
breaks the gain line every single play. He's not had he's not had the hardest of rides. Let's be honest. We've not really seen him under pressure. He gets. But
I don't agree with this. I mean, we have this idea that the Crusaders, yeah, they lost 2 games or they won 15 on the trot. They just destroyed everyone. But look through the results, and I watched every single game for Crusaders this season. Especially in the beginning of the season, they had a lot of injuries, and they had to grind up quite a few wins in the beginning of the season. I'd say the big difference in pretty much every single game was Richie Mwanga. And I'm not big on stats, but these stats I have catched up on. Crusaders scored on average when Richie Mwanga was on the field. They scored 40 points. When he was not on the field, which was the 7 games this season, he played 11, was injured 7. They scored 25 points. These bad boys bruising Crusaders pack. If they just destroyed everything, we would score a little bit more than 25 points. Okay, Mwanga or not.
Right. Richie Mwanga, let's be honest, is the creative spark for that back line. The nines that the Crusaders have got, they're decent. They get the ball out, but they're not Aaron Smith. They're not TG Perinara. They're not going to create much. The Ryan Crotty, very well organised, good bash it up, not the most creative of midfielders. And if you then put in Mitchell Hunt as your replacement for Richie Mwanga, oh dearie me, there's no creativity in that 9, 10, 12 combination, to be honest. Okay. So yeah, I get that. He is the creative spark that makes the Crusaders tick, and ignites that back line. But he does have the best midfielder in the world in Ryan, or the most organised midfielder in the world, at least, in Ryan Crotty, who organises everything for him. He does have an All Blacks pack to play behind at club level, and outside of that, you've then got basically, all the players outside of that are also All Blacks. I mean, Goodhue is in the All Blacks squad now, and his favourite.
And not only that, we're coming to him soon. My big hype for the season is going to deliver it.
Navalu, Bridge, and Havali. Fine, Bridge isn't an All Black yet, but he will be. He's playing in a team where they've got the only position that doesn't have now. There are only 2 players in that team, or 2 positions in that team that are not all international quality, and that's the scrum half and the left wing. Bridge is international quality, just not an All Black yet. Every other player in that team is international quality. When you're playing club rugby and your entire team is internationals, geez, he has a hard time. It's not like some of the other guys. I mean, Perifetta at the Blues, totally different situation. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he's injured. I mean, the boy got to go out and play first.
But don't get me wrong. Richie Mwanga does ignite that back line. I agree, but he has a fantastic cast with him as well to play with. Yes,
obviously. But
the pack that Bowden Barrett's playing behind is not so good, and that back line without either Proctor or Arso that really lacks that 13 linchpin, and that was the problem for the Hurricanes, is they lacked that 13 linchpin in the second half of the season. Ben Lamb, great when you're giving him space and a ball, but otherwise useless, as we saw. Yeah,
but I'm simplifying now, Paul, but put it simply. I know there's some injuries here and there, but there were injuries to the Crusaders pack too. I mean, but the Hurricanes backline, it's just as much All Black as the Crusaders pack is All Black. And if you're playing 10, it do helps if you have the All Black backline around you too. But somehow we're not talking about that.
No, because it's all forwards win games. Forwards win games. Backs just decide by how many.
Yeah, but it is not that simple. I'm a little bit. There are stats we can actually measure how good halfbacks are. How good the 5/8s are. The first 5/8s are. Instead, everyone is ignoring these stats for 2 weeks. Instead, we just say, "Oh, but he plays in a Rolls Royce pack. He plays in a Rolls Royce team." Blah 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 blah. But I get that too. But I just want to try to be the devil's advocate a little bit here.
I understand.
It's a little.
Hi, Brent. Thanks for joining us. And like his comment, That epitomises the chasm between New Zealand and South African rugby. We've got Elton and Andre, Andre Pollard.
Yeah,
We've got Richie Mo'unga and Bowden Barrett.
yeah, and Damien McKenzie.
We're not even talking about Damien McKenzie, who will actually get on the bench. Richie Mo'unga won't even be in the matchday squad for the first test.
It's not fair, and if we want to build on that, Dan Carter still plays football, so Po'unga just moved to Europe, and if there was one fly half who was really impressive in Super Rugby this year who didn't play for a New Zealand team, it was Hayden Parker, another Kiwi. I mean, it really isn't fair at all, They should share some of their wealth.
Well, yeah, no, maybe Hayden Parker will get his 3 years in Japan and suddenly he'll be playing for Japan.
Yeah, but I have Australian friends who more like a joke, but a little bit serious too. Like looking at, doesn't he have an Australian granny somewhere? Hayden Parker, we need. He was.
Quick! If his dad gets arrested and put in jail, he's a convict. That pretty much makes him Australian.
Yeah. Or his uncle or grandfather. I mean, there's got to be someone somewhere.
Just lock him up. If he's a convict, that's an Australian. Doesn't even have to be here.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Grandmaster D, thanks for joining us. Toronto Wolfpack rules, they're fantastic as a rugby league team, but this is a rugby union show, so thanks for joining us. If you want to hear about rugby union, stay around. If you don't, then see you later. Let's pause. So we've got that little tiff around number 10, which is a bit of a joke, really. The only real question, really, is we talked about, and Arshavin talked about these last night, is the Frizzell and Hemapo being picked ahead of Frizzell. Being picked ahead of Fafita and Akira Ioane. So there's a bit there. Fafita's come out and said he doesn't know what he has to do and why he hasn't been picked. And the All Blacks coaches are saying, well, he's not been picked because he's been playing lock, not 6. But Hemapo's been playing lock too. So, what's going on there? So, potential for a bit of disunity within the ranks because around that kind of thing. Perhaps some of the Hurricanes players might question how he's been dealt with. But I can't see that. As long
catching straws. Yes, we're catching straws here.
Clutching at straws.
I mean, if at least Fafita was in the team, so he could spread some bad vibes inside the team, but he's not even inside the team to spread them in his bad vibes. I mean, how? Yeah, we're gonna have a tough time if you're gonna predict the All Blacks' downfall this time around.
Okay, so basically, I think we haven't said this yet, but let's be honest. We're expecting the All Blacks to win the Rugby Championship 6-0.
No, I don't expect 6-0. I think, they're going to drop one. They're going to drop one either away against the Springboks or away against Australia.
Now, I think the first game they're going to drop is the third Bledisloe Cup in Japan. They're not.
Yeah, but that's not included. That's not included in this Rugby Championship. But I reckon.
I think they will go through the Rugby Championship unbeaten.
I think the Wallabies have I wouldn't call this game this weekend 65-35 in All Blacks' favor, but I can definitely see the Wallabies winning.
So let's talk about the Wallabies then. Their June didn't go so great. 1-1 loss to Ireland, who are admittedly number 2 in the world. So they're a decent side.
And it was a great series too. Very, very high quality.
It was, but Ireland rested most of their players for that first game. There were a lot of...
They did.
So, to me, anyway. So, they lost to Ireland, 2-0. Sorry, 2-1 in June. But I'm hearing a lot of positivity out of Australia amongst the pundits, amongst the podcasters, around the whole squad. They're really happy with the squad, aren't they?
They are, but I think the squad is clearly stronger than it's been the last couple of years. I mean, the big improvement from last year is obviously going to have Pocock playing this season, and he makes a difference. I think also Pocock actually getting a fair bit of unfair treatment. I think a little bit too many think he's a one-trick pony. Obviously, he is the best pilfer in the world. Yes, he is. But if people think that's the only thing he brings to the game, I think they're not paying attention at all. He has a very solid overall game too. He's not quick, we all know that, but he knows how to run the ball, he knows how to tackle. You know how to pass the ball. He has a pretty good head too.
And he's a leader on the pitch as well.
He's going to make a massive difference for the Wallabies.
Yeah,
he's
he
that
will.
good.
Also, I mean,
Getting
has been playing Super Rugby rather than in Europe, so he's much fitter coming into this, and he's conditioned right. So that's another plus for them.
Same thing with Curtly Beale.
Same with Curtly Beale. Yeah, both of those players have been actually playing Super Rugby this year.
Beale doesn't either.
And on the downside, though, is injuries and depth, basically. Missing Kirandrani, missing Karevi. That 13 jersey is a problem, isn't it?
It is. It's a huge problem. We might get a little bit of a let. I mean, I'm a big fan of Jack Goodyear, as you know, and what I hear from a rumor mill is he actually going to start tomorrow. On Saturday, but we're going to choose him in Crotty. And as much as I like, it's still going to be his starting test debut. So that could be like a little bit of a break for the Wallabies. But at least we're not going to play against someone who's tried and tested in that position. But we'll see. I have great hopes of Goodyear. We look like a test player.
And he's also playing outside his club partner in Ryan Crotty. So it's not like he's coming into an unknown. It's going to be a tried and tested combination in there. But there is a big question mark there for whoever is going to play in that 13 jersey. I've heard Hodge being mentioned. Now Hodge.
Yeah, that's the most likely. Yeah.
But he's a guy who I've seen play 11, 10, 12. I've not seen him in that 13 jersey yet. And so.
Yeah, he played 15 too.
And 15, sorry, yeah. So if I was the All Blacks, basically my game plan would be run down the 10 and the 13 channel, run at Foley and run at the guy who is going to. Hodge can tackle, don't get me wrong, but he's going to be out of position the whole time. So run down those two channels, and you're going to make hay.
Yeah. Yes. I agree. I agree. But
the other side of it for Australia, though, is also that front five. That front five has got to try and at least get parity against the other packs, the Pumas, All Blacks, and Springboks, to give the kind of give the platform.
I agree. But that's probably the most improved part of the Wallabies team since last season. So that's probably also one of the biggest reasons why there are more optimistic talk from Australia these days. Because
I mean the Brumbies.
They got a little bit of depth.
The Brumbies players obviously
got a little bit of depth
with with a wet sail. The Reds pack was very nuggety, and the Tars did well as.
Their front five has looked all right.
So that should be much better coming into this one as well. So you said, Ori, 35, 65. So obviously underdogs for the weekend, but with a decent chance. Yes.
And it seems also that they have prepared better this time around, the Wallabies. Obviously, I think it helps a little bit that the Waratahs went to the semis in the playoffs, but also they had this, like the All Blacks have done for years, that they had an internal tri-light game when they had like the Wallabies against the Super Rugby selection. So they had like a proper warm-up game for the first time with Wallabies. Because I remember like last year in the first one, that was when All Blacks scored like 54 points in the first half, I think, last year in Sydney. And hold on, I got poor network connection here.
No, we can hear you, don't worry. But yeah, they should come into this tournament much better prepared than they have done in previous years. They'll be looking to obviously win their home games against the Springboks, which was a draw last year from memory, and also the Pumas. They'll be looking at getting that Pumas away win. And that Springbok away game could be the decider as to who comes second in the tournament for me. So that's the kind of that's the Wallabies.
No. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was talking about last year. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Last year. Yeah, so they have played. So this year the Wallabies have played a warm-up game, but also different from last year. I think the All Blacks came straight from the Lion series and were basically like in probably as much as test mode as you possibly can be, while the Wallabies came from like tests against Fiji and Italy and a loss against Scotland, and then a warm-up game and then straight out to play the All Blacks. after a horrendous Super Rugby season, I mean, it was pretty obvious that we're going to get smashed. But the comeback from the Wallabies and the other two tests last year also, I think, is a big reason why confidence.
You're cutting out there. Yeah, you're right. They should do. They're coming into this much better in the championship. Much better. Their first game against the All Blacks. The All Blacks aren't coming in quite as hot, but still, they are long shots for that game. But I say home wins against the Springboks and the Pumas are musts, as is an away win to the Pumas, and that's. I think that Springbok away game is going to be the key one to me. For the rankings in this championship.
Sorry, can you repeat the last thing one more time?
I think that away game to the Springboks is going to be probably the key game for the championship to see who comes second in this one. Is what I'm thinking. And unfortunately, you've frozen, Herman. So I'm going to move on to the Springboks now. They had a bit of a mixed June test window, lost to Wales up in Washington DC, then beat England twice before losing in a rain-affected game. Get to England in that final one, so they ended up winning 2, losing 2 during that June window. Obviously, new coach in there that everyone Rasmussen, everyone is sort of very positive about, but I think. The selection issues are going to be basically their big Achilles heel in this one, and the whole quota system. We saw quite blatantly between some of those games that he was having to balance certain quotas. Now, don't get me wrong. I think everyone who's in that Springbok squad are international standard, but what we're talking about is 1% and 2%. And when we come up against in the big games, those 1 or 2% make are the difference between winning and losing. And I think that could be the big problem for the Springboks during this tournament. So, Herman, how do you see the Springboks going?
Paul, I got to hang up and call you right up again because the connection is not good.
So, whilst Herman dials back in, talking about the Springboks, I say what I saw there, and that's a topic that for those of you who follow the channel for the past for the sort of 4 or 5 years I've been going, one of the topics I avoid quite deliberately is the whole quota thing. Hopefully Herman's back now. But I say I think I found it was to be. That it was a bit more obvious in this tournament than we have had. And sorry, folks, I guess I've got all sorts of calls going on at the moment. Let me just sort out Skype as Herman tries to dial back in, and I've also got Archie trying to dial in as well. So. Let me just sort that out and then we'll be back with the show. And we're back. We've got Herman back in. That's good. Yeah. And that will happen when you live in the third world, obviously. See, when it rains with you, it's still nice and warm. When it rains with me, it's cold as. So no sympathy there, I'm afraid, sir. There is definitely a good chance that's going to happen, and I think it's good. We're going to need that to be. Have you? I, well, I'm hoping he'll answer because we can't see you, but we can hear you. The, well, if you want to drop off, you don't have to. You don't have to join us, but you can do if we actually want to. Yes, we are live. And the Wallabies. So we're talking about we're trying to talk about the Springboks. My editing skills are going to be pushed to the limit on this one, I think. So anyway, talking about the, the so I talking about Brent sort of put some good points in the and Herman, you might have to drop off again because people can't hear you. So again, yeah, sorry. So you drop off and come back on. Um, you can hear him, okay. So yes, people in the comments. I see a few comments saying you can't hear him. Can you please actually say? Brent says you're not allowed to smoke, Herman. Well, there you go. So, I hope so. Well, let us know, people in the live chat. Let us know if you can hear Herman or not. This is going to make a great podcast. Anyway, for those of you, one of the points here that's been that was mentioned by Brent was on the flip side, players like Cabana, Sia, Afei were denied if they were denied the chance to play, what a tragedy it would have been. Absolutely no. And now, and again, I do believe that there does need to be transformation in South Africa. I just think that, and I say there are a lot of players there who are what's the word I'm looking for? Who are international standard. It's that 1 or 2% I say, and I think it was a bit too obvious that he was having to balance certain players in the squad in that June compared to previous years. Herman, they still can't hear you, so please do drop off and come back on again. So, Archie, we can't hear you, but we can't see you, but we can hear you. So, I assume you're there. Do you want to give us your thoughts on the on the Springboks? Okay, guys. I see what the problem is. The problem is actually is my broadcast. So yeah, there was no sound coming through from Skype for him. So I'm going to drop you off. End the call and start up again. Sorry, folks. Yeah, I'm just going to try and. I realise now that actually the sound levels weren't coming up. So let's just try that again. I'll have another chat with Herman and Archie, and hopefully we can get them on the show. And otherwise, we'll have to see how it goes. Herman says New Zealand are going to smoke the box. Oh dear. So let's see if we can get them back again. The phone is ringing, even though I'm looking at it, you guys can't hear that. So who have I got on? Yep, it's not working again. I can hear you, but it's not coming out of the. It's so yeah. This is definitely technical issues on my end. In that for some reason my broadcast software isn't picking up the sound from Skype. I'm afraid, folks. So let's see if we can get that working. Yeah. Why are you not coming through? Disaster. No, it's all at my end. The call recorder has decided not to pick you up. I don't know why that is. It's not working. What's going to be the best way to deal with this? Let's actually restart Skype. Let's see if that works. So sorry about all these technical issues, folks. I will try and try and get them sorted. Really, basically, that's all I can do. And the lesson is, don't try and add someone in mid-show, because it all fell apart at that point. So yeah, so I think that might have been what the problem was. But hey, we'll start up Skype again and see if we can get people on. If not, we may have to just can the show at that point and talk about other stuff another time. Come on, Skype, turn yourself on. Brent says, end show, reboot and begin again. Well, yes, that might have to be the solution. But I was hoping to get out my predictions tonight as well, especially with the Mice Cup kicking off tomorrow night. So yes, that's all that's Mice Cup and Curry Cup kicking off. So we do want to get those predictions out this evening if we can. Otherwise, they'll all be a bit late, basically. Let's be honest. Yes, let's see how we go. Come on, Skype, boot up. Okay, here we go. Okay, do talk. Nope. Okay, don't worry, I will try something else. Hello and welcome back to the Rugby Championship preview. So hopefully those of you on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook can see us again. Please do give us a comment, let us know we're back and bad and all that kind of rubbish. Who knows what's happened with Periscope, but I'm sure it will be fantastic. So, Hermann, take us away, South Africa.
South Africa. Shall we start like all the way from the beginning, or
wherever you feel like?
Wherever I feel like. Okay, I start a little bit where I was in before. I mean, we all thought Rassie Erasmus is a new coach. It's a feel-good factor around the South African camp now, and probably helps a bit. But Siya Kolisi is the first black captain too, So there is this feeling around the Springbok camp. But if we forget about all these sweet things about Springboks and look at the reality, I mean, I don't see a lot of depth. And also, if you go for the results from the first 4 tests during Rassie Erasmus, they lost against Wales, they lost 1 against England, they won 2 against England, but they dropped an awful lot of points. And as I said before, but we probably didn't hear anyone, if the Springboks are going to play defense on the wide channels like that against the All Blacks, but also against the Wallabies, they're going to be destroyed. They're going to be absolutely destroyed, no matter how good their pack is playing. Because basically, England just had to throw the ball wide, and it was try. And if you play like that against the All Blacks, you are in for a very long night at the office.
No, absolutely, and that's true. They do need to step up that side of the game. Hey, one of the things they did show though was resiliency, being able to come back from points and back from situations, which is good. So that's we know this team are playing for each other. They are playing for the coach. From that point of view, they do believe, which is good. So Alex says he's got a good feeling from the Springboks. I'd say one of the comments I made beforehand, I know people heard me, was I think the quota thing is stricter than it's ever been. I think that's going to cause them an issue with this. More so around combinations, I think, and having settled combinations than actually necessarily the actual players themselves. As I say, the differences between his players isn't much, and it really comes down to form and who has a good game, who doesn't have a bad game. So to me, that's the only kind of the difference between those two. And I think the Wallabies will feel pretty confident as long as they don't have too many injuries to beat the Springboks at home. But I think that away game against the Wallabies is going to be the big game, or one of the big games of this championship.
Yeah.
So who comes second?
I reckon Wallabies going to end up second this year.
Well, that was a surprise because I can't see Arsene. I didn't realise Arsene was actually on the show. Hi, Arsene.
Yeah, I see
you can't
him.
see me. Can you see me?
I see you, Arsene. You look good.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I think it's just like adding on to what Hermann was saying and what we thought we might have been saying out to the world before we had our reboot. And it goes back to our rugby hashtag conversation yesterday. You know, when you're picking players that are that 1 or 2% lower than international level, that's a massive gap at that top level. And those players get found out. There's a lot of covering has to be done to hide that. You know, we talk about games being lost by 1 or 2% with top teams and with their best sides on the field. So, what are you expecting when you haven't got your best side on the field because they're not quite at that international level, a player here or there?
Yeah, but I mean, as much as I dislike the quota, but really to keep it fair, I still say that Springboks are still more hurt that they have too many players in Europe than the quota actually hurt them. If they were, that's probably hurt them way more. And look at now, Dwayne Vermeulen is not going to play the rugby championship at all. He's going to play with his Japanese clubs. And they're having all kinds of troubles with the other three. They have it's Lowe, Villerue, and Faf de Klerk are the other ones who are going to play. And they have all kinds of problems of securing them to play all games during the rugby championship, which they are entitled to do according to World Rugby regulations, but it doesn't work like that. Which is also it's also a very good reminder for the future for anyone thinking like, but eventually All Blacks and Wallabies will pick all the players from Europe. You know, it's not that simple. It's not that simple at all.
No, look, a couple of things to address there. I mean, it highlights the Dane Vermeulen situation. Highlights another problem that the South Africans have because we talked about it last night. I thought he was going to be available and playing because you go back to pre-June internationals or maybe just after it. And initially there was the chat that no, he won't be playing the rugby championship. They're resting him, make sure he doesn't get overplayed. Then there was a conversation, no, he was going to be playing. So I thought he was actually going to be playing. So and that doesn't help when you're trying to get a team together, culture, all that, players in, out, not playing for whatever reason is not great for the team. And then as you say, look, this is just a highlight. This highlights the whole scenario of the time and the day when it comes, when the All Blacks and the Wallabies are already starting to do it, but when the All Blacks have to pick players from overseas, it's not that simple, and there's no way that it's as cohesive as the ability that the All Blacks have to pick all the players from Super Rugby competition at the moment.
Yeah, and the big problem they're having is that and Australia have the same problem as well for Matt Tumua, and I've forgotten who that player is that's going to go back, but is that they're good for the games back to back. it's when there are rest weekends and that's the
Yeah, we have to report back to Europe.
they have to report back to Europe. So the international regulation says players have to be released for a week before a test match. Well, yes, if there's a 2-week gap, that means there's a week available there to go back play for your club, and that's where the problem lies.
Yeah. I mean, that probably would be workable in a South African situation if we're only thinking about it because you don't have any jet lag. But it's impossible, more or less, to do it from a New Zealand or Australian perspective.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how much game time Matt Tamua gets this Rugby Championship.
And look, the other thing is the fact is that, the All Black selectors aren't going to be able to hold any sway over a European coach to say, oh, can you give him some more game time here or some more game time there? That ain't going to be happening.
No, but to be fair, that hardly happen in Super Rugby either. I mean, there are this misconception that, the New Zealand Rugby is one happy family and Steve Hansen just call whoever he wants in Super Rugby. You play him there, and they do it, and that's why New Zealand is so good. But if you really dig into it, it doesn't work like that at all, it seems.
But you're right. But one thing that you still see happening at the moment anyway is the fact is that All Blacks, you've got 2 games you have to rest in a season.
That's true. That's a big one.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Bouchelet, I can't say his name properly. Hey, Mr. Bouchelet, can you rest our All Blacks for 2 games a season, please? Yeah, that ain't going to happen, is it?
Ashwin, you should of course call him the comic book guy.
That comic book guy.
That's the comic book.
Money.
I know. Oh, really? Paul, damn. So are you just calling no. I'm having one on you now, Paul.
What, you saying he's that fat guy in The Simpsons?
No.
Clearly you didn't watch Simpsons. It's the thin guy in The Simpsons that's rich, not the fat guy. Jeez.
Yeah.
The fat guy goes, "Dole," and gets it all wrong. Deary me. Anyway, to try and keep this show on something like a track, and so moving on then. So finally, the last team for us to talk about is the Pumas.
Yes.
Lost 2 games to Wales and 1 to Scotland during the June window, and lost their coach as well. So Mario Ledesma has now stepped up as the national coach for the Pumas after only 1 season with Jaguares as a head coach. Is it too early for him, or is he the right choice?
It's not ideal, but I mean, looking at what I think overall we've done good, Jaguares, because we're saying Argentinian Union. If you look at the Pumas, just take over the Jaguars now.
Okay, you're cutting out there a bit, Herman. So I'll give Ashwin a go.
To be honest with the Pumas, I just don't know where they're at. It's just so hard to tell. We can say that Ledesma's going to come and make a difference, but Latin temperament comes into it so much for that team. They could come in. They could be the Jaguares that played early part of Super Rugby. Or could they could be the same team that was played ineffectual rugby against Wales. Mate, it's like with the Mickey Mouse Club, you don't know what's going to happen on any day.
Look, I think he's
highly insightful.
Exactly, yes. I think the Desmond will be good and a step in the right direction. But I got to say that even he didn't win any games in South Africa with the Jaguares. He lost. They lost all their away games in South Africa, and starting in South Africa isn't going to help them at all either. So it's all a bit of a mess from that point of view. And I'm just going to put Arsenal on hold because Herman's called me, and I'm just making a whole. Technically, this has been one of the worst shows I've had ever, I think. So. Oh dear. Let's see if we can get them back. You're back, but you don't have sound. Oh, I'm just going to have to finish the show on my own. So, sorry guys. It has been we had some technical issues during this show, clearly. And as I say, I'm going to finish the show on my own, just because of that. Sorry about all the technical issues we've been having, guys. The Pumas. We've got to wonder about them, how they're going to cope with a new head coach who isn't an experienced head coach, has definitely not got any experience, or his experience, he has got experience at international level, obviously with the Wallabies as their forwards coach. But yeah, he got some serious problems there around his experience. So that's been a bit of a problem. It's going to be a problem for them. He hasn't won in South Africa with the Jaguares. So again, can he actually do it can the Pumas just start in South Africa? Can they do it there? It's a really hard start for them. So hopefully this will they'll do well with Mario Ledesma, but it doesn't look like a very positive start. And obviously their results in June were poor as well. They have got one player from Europe in their side. It's not just the Jaguares this time. So there is that side of it as well, which will be good. The Hermann was going to have a big rant around the schedule and how Sanzar look after that. So I think we're going to save that for a future show around that. But look, the schedule is the same every year. It's the same this year as the last 7. And say it's tough on the Pumas. Starting away in South Africa, going home. So a long trip back to Argentina for a game against the Springboks, then travelling over to, I can't remember if it's Australia or New Zealand, and they have that big that big travel there. So yes, the Pumas have got a really tough schedule, and so it's hard to see how they're going to bounce back from a poor start, and it's hard to see them getting a good start in South Africa. Really, that's going to be a very tough game for them, having seen how they've gone in Super Rugby. For the Springboks, obviously they should have that morale boosting win to start off with, and then they don't travel very well. So 3 games on the road for them after that is going to be tough before they have the 2 home games against the Wallabies and the All Blacks. They need to get something out of those away games. So we see how they can travel and whether they've improved that. But traditionally, South African teams do not travel well. The Wallabies obviously will want to try and do as well as they can in Sydney. They want to get a big thumping like they did last year to go into this championship. But having 3 out of their first 4 games at home should mean they should get at least 2 wins under their belts before going overseas, which will put them in a good place. And the All Blacks, as I said at the beginning of the show, I can't see them losing any games at all. So that's really how it's going to be. I think it's going to be the All Blacks winning it between the Springboks and the Wallabies as to who takes that second slot. I'm slightly more positive about the Wallabies than I am the Springboks. And then finally, the Pumas coming up last, hoping to sneak a home win against either the Springboks or the Wallabies. You think really that's what we're kind of looking for, or looking for all of this. I'll give you my prediction. I'll give you a bit of a preview about the games this coming weekend, tomorrow night, once we have the teams, and then I'll be doing a post-match review of the Bledisloe Cup 1 as well. So join me for that at the weekend. And I'll try and get some predictions out for the Maestro Cup and the Curry Cup as well on the old channels. So look out for those. Thank you all much for joining me. Sorry about all the technical issues. Hopefully we can iron those out in future.